You've got to look bigger than your country. You've got to look bigger than your local government and your town council. What you've got to do is you've got to look at the world from the perspective of it being a stage. Step back, I often say, step back in space and look at the entire world as one thing. And see how the governments control everything. I mean, we're all free people. We're all free people born on this planet by the grace of God. And yet there is a certain group of individuals that have imposed all these rules on the rest of the population. And all these rules have done is prevent us from being who and what we are. They've been used to disconnect us from each other. They've been used to disconnect us from the earth that we live on. And they've been used to enslave us to a system of fear. Those of you who say you're not in fear, try living without money. See if you'll be able to eat anything or have a roof over your head. You see, money is the tool that is used to perpetuate the system of fear. Everything that we need on earth is provided here for us abundantly. We have everything that we need here. There is no reason why anybody should be starving or homeless. The only reason people are starving and homeless in any country on earth is because of the imposition of money over the consciousness of mankind. The imposition of a monetary system on a country or a culture gives the government or the bank that controls the government, it gives them the ability to marginalise that country, to put everybody into a state of debt and eventually take all of their possessions. That's what money's for. Money should be a system of trade that the people use to perform commerce with each other so that we can buy things off each other and we can trade between each other and we can do things for each other. We can work and we can do what we want. It should be a system that frees mankind, but it isn't. It's been used to enslave mankind, and it is the basis of all of the problems that the world faces, the interest-based monetary system. And folks, this is a privately run system. This is a privately run system. Every single central banker on earth is a criminal. All of these people need to be arrested. They need to be held accountable for their actions. Any government that supports them needs to be arrested, held accountable for their actions. Any person who supports the activity, any judge that defends their case, any lawyer that defends their case, all of these people are complicit in what is being done to the planet and what is being done to the human race. All of these people need to be held accountable. And this is the job that our police should be doing. Our police should be going and addressing these issues. Because it doesn't matter what the law says. It doesn't matter if the criminals in charge have written legislation to say that they're above the law. The police shouldn't be looking at it that way. The police should be doing their job and preventing crime and arresting criminals. But unfortunately, they're not. They're simply defending elitist corruption. Now, if you can step back and look at the world the way I said, look at it as one whole thing, one stage, and see how all of these governments are being puppeteered and orchestrated by this central banking system, then it becomes clear that the way to fix it is to not comply with this central banking system and not to comply with any legislation that says that these people are above the law. And you see, we don't have to comply with any of their legislation, folks, because we're the people. We are the ones who employ the government. We are supposed to employ the government to act on our behalf, but unfortunately, the bankers control who we employ. They dangle these certain candidates in front of us, and we think that this is someone who's actually going to help, but it's actually someone who's been groomed by the banks, groomed by the banking system, groomed by the university system to actually go and perform the task that he's doing. And what he's doing is performing a task for the bankers. He's more and more centralising power. This is what we've seen with John Howard in Australia. It's what we've seen even further with Kevin Rudd. It's what's been happening in America with the whole Bush regime and now Obama. It's more and more centralising of power. All through Europe, the European Union, all of this stuff, it's more centralising of power. They tried it again in Copenhagen. More centralising of power. If they got away with Copenhagen, if everyone had signed into that treaty, we would have this banking government in control of the world now, but thankfully people saw what was going on and they pulled out, people realised that the ruling hand that would have been put in place with the signing of the Copenhagen Treaty would have actually been the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. And this is the very people who have imposed this corrupt monetary system on the world and who have done all the damage that we've seen in the world. Because the reason for all the damage that we have seen in the world is because of government corruption, corporate corruption, and through the marginalisation of countries through debt and the control and distraction of the populations of these countries through debt. This is how they get people to build the war machine. They introduce money into the country. Everyone's suddenly got bills, and so they've got to get any job that they can. So they'll go and get a job in a bomb factory or whatever factory that's making whatever weapon to go and bomb anyone. And the excuse will be, well, I have to feed my family. I have to have a job because I have to feed my family. But they don't realise is the only reason they have to have a job to feed their family is because their freedom to grow food has been taken away. Their freedom to operate on the basic level of a normal human being has been taken away. They're put into a situation of contrived debt in a situation where they have to pay to be alive in the country that they were born in. And so they are put into a position where they do have to go and make bombs to be dropped on other countries simply to feed their family. But it's all orchestrated. The whole thing is orchestrated. We don't need money at all. You should be able to walk outside of your house, any piece of garden you find, just grow anything you want. We've got acres and acres of arable land. Every person that's born in every country should be given a block of land simply for being born there. This should be just done. This should be what the government does. The government is supposed to be there to help people. The government shouldn't be imposing taxes and laws and rules and regulations on people and giving power to corporations. The government should be helping the people. But the government doesn't do this in any way. You don't see help for the people by giving us a health care bill. I mean, they should do this anyway because the governments are there to help the people. That's what they're supposed to do. There should be free health care for all people in all countries. There should be an interest-free monetary system in all countries, and governments should do what they're employed to do. And the central banking system needs to be completely walked away from. People absolutely have to stop participating in this central banking system. If we are going to have currency, we need to institute an honest monetary system, and we need to hold the banksters accountable. I would personally be suggesting that all the money and assets of all the central banksters be immediately seized, and that money should be used to feed, clothe, house and create infrastructure in all of the countries that have been raped by the central banks, all of the third world countries. We could build houses for all of these people. We could put infrastructure in all of their countries. We could raise the standard of living in every country on earth with the money that has been accumulated by the central banksters who have done all the damage to the world. All of their assets need to be immediately seized. And the police, if they are worth their salt at all in any way, any shape or any form, they would be doing this right now, regardless of whatever legislation has been put in place by other people to prevent them from doing so. Because the people that have put this legislation in place are simply people. There's no particular reason we have to do what they say. The only reason we do what they say is because we agree to do what they say. But I seriously feel that the reason people simply agree to this thing is because they don't really know what's going on. And also, it's been part of our education system that it's bred into people this attitude of letting sleeping dogs lie. Oh, there's some things you just can't talk about. Government corruption, it's like, oh, you better walk away and not look at that. Well, I think that we should look at it. I think that all of these things need to be exposed, and we should absolutely look at it. Because there are some really terrible things going on with our governments at the absolute highest level of our governments. And this is global, folks. It's all pervasive in all governments around the world. Because when you look at all of our government institutions and all of our educational and religious institutions, and you put them all together and you see how they are all intertwined, and you find out that there are some pretty disturbing things about all of these entities. And these things are a major influence on our societies. And folks, the only reason these things are perpetuated, the only reason this continues, is because most people feel that they do not have the power to affect change. But we do. We do, because the system only functions because we continue to comply with it. So, as I said, if you stand back and you look at things as a global stage, then you see that non-compliance is the way to fix things. And the way for non-compliance to work is to start within your own community, your friends and your family, your neighbours, and try to build a community of caring with each other, a community that supports each other, a community that trades with each other and helps each other. Don't worry about collecting more trinkets. Improve the lives of those around you, because if you do improve the lives of those around you, it comes back to you. If you put that out into the field gives it back to you. If we start doing this on a grassroots level all across the earth, we can put things right. We really can.